topic， 每个话题有3轮。The first round is making a statement， 是观点陈述环节。第2轮是 one-on-one debate 奇袭时间。第3轮是 conclusion。然后第2轮、第3轮大家都要观众朋友们来投票，选出你们喜欢的持方，然后由你们来决定他们谁赢谁输啊。Let me repeat the topic once again， 给大家再说一下今晚的话题。The topic is, if there's a technology that can resurrect the person you love most in this world, would you use it? 如果有一项技术可以复活你全世界最爱的人，你要不要用这项科技啊？这都是播的啥悠悠？这是个英文辩论直播间，然后喜欢英语的朋友可以留在这个直播间，不喜欢的划走就可以了。然后想要提高口语的朋友可以申请上麦，每天的话题都不一样，每天10点半开播。Anyway，四叶草 let's welcome 四叶草 to open a case for the proposition， 告诉我们为什么正方要用这项科技来复活他们最爱的人。Let's go. 2 minutes for you, 四叶草。
Okay, so I want to raise my point from 3 perspectives. The first is from the philosophical perspective, and secondly, I want to raise it from the nature. Hello?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So and thirdly, I want to raise it from the individual or family issues perspective. So, firstly, when we talk about resurrection, it seems to be a very absurd word. As if to say it's like a kind of supernatural ability to bring people back from the death. But in fact, this kind of technology, it not only exists, but also it has a lot of names. Like once it was called penicillin, or organic transplantation. Tomorrow it could be called genetic engineering, or it could be stem cell technology. So let us imagine if an Asian people travel to present day, so instead of this kind of society development, they will be amazed at what it has the hospital looks like, our technology looks like, especially the medical secure and medical support of the modern society. So like penicillin antibiotics must be regarded as a kind of magic. Then what differences like we make it to them if they solve this kind of technology of resurrection? So it has no has no difference from this kind of technology I discussed in the previous section and what we are talking about today about the resurrection technology. And secondly, I want to talk about this technology is not only shaping life, it is actually redefining death. So our understanding of death from no breathing to no heartbeat, or from to the level of no to the
Sorry,
brain death.
Sorry, this round.
Okay, thank you.
谢谢四叶草thanks 四叶草 for opening case for the proposition。谢谢正方一辩带来观点陈述。Let me repeat the topic once again。话题是if there's a technology that can resurrect the person you love most in this world, would you use it？ 如果有项科技可以复活全世界你最爱的人，要不要用这项科技？现在咱们有请 Shirley 反方一辩告诉我们为什么他们不用这项技术。All right, let's welcome Shirley to open a case for the opposition.
Okay. So this seems like a nice choice, but it is actually a trap. It tells you that you can bring back your loved ones, but it doesn't tell you in what form. Can a patient come back healthy? Can an old man come back young? Can a criminal come back in goodness? And will they live forever, or will they still face the same threat of death? We're not God and have no right to decide life or death for others. When you bring him back, did you ever think that maybe he didn't want to live anymore? Everyone is an individual, but it is very unfair to live this right to someone else. This choice makes many people who are not loved by others lose the chance to come back again. Maybe they live very hard and they also want to come back when they die, but because no one loves them and lose the right to come back. So at this time, love is not pure. In such a world, people will no longer love others for love, but just to bind others' life to achieve this eternal life. Everyone's growth needs to pay a price. The reason why people cherish every day of life is that death will limit our time to experience the world. Therefore, it may be the law of the world to cherish the present, cherish the people in front of us, and learn to accept the departure or the leave of your loved ones. That's all.
Thanks, Shirley, for
Thank you so
opening case for the
much.
opposition. Thank you so much. 谢谢 Shirley 粉翻译辩论的观点陈述，给大家说一下这个规则啊。It's a three versus three debate。这个我们现在在做3v3辩论，3v3辩论我会提前把我的辩题发在粉丝群里面，大家可以自行选择你要准备不准备都是 OK 的。但是我建议大家都要去准备一下，因为这样才能给到我们更好的 performance。然后我们平时也会有车轮战，车轮战就是完全的 impromptu debate 即兴辩论。所以关于有没有读稿有没有写稿这些我觉得都不重要，大家听观点然后后面投票就可以了。Alright, now let's welcome 星辰 to continue case for the proposition， 请正方二辩星辰带来他点观点陈述，告诉我为什么他没有这项科技去复活最爱的人。
So if there was a technology, my God, I'm so sorry. If there's a technology that exists to resurrect my loved one, of course I would use it. And there are two factors that I would like to start by saying why I would use it. So one of them is that if you lose somebody you love, you will then go through a deep end and you can't really come back. And the second reason why is that person might not have died from their own choice. So in order to further understand those 2 points, I would like to start by saying love is an intense feeling of deep affection. It's something that shows a great interest and pleasure in something. So if you love somebody, you want to be with them for the rest of your life. So to continue from my first point, when you lose somebody, you may fall down the path where you decide that you want to take drugs or alcohol or fall into any of those categories because you feel this kind of sadness within your heart. And that then takes you to a completely kind of different dimension. And you could just completely lose yourself, your career, your other loved ones, just because of that one singular person. And the second point that I would like to say is that person who died may not have died from their own choices. That person might have died from a car accident, they could have died from murder, they could have died from any of those kind of reasons. And I do feel like you can't really decide then whether if they wanted to live or not. As Shirley said, that when people die, they can choose whether they want to live or not. But I don't believe you can then make that decision because you don't actually know what that person thinks, whether if they wanted to live or not. So then if you resurrect them and if they wanted to die again, then by all means you know their final choice, you know what they want. But now that you've resurrected them and if they didn't want to die, then perfect. You've got your lovely husband back, you've got your lovely boyfriend back, you've got someone that you love back, and it wouldn't drag you down that deep hole of constant regret, constant sadness, and possibly to push you to the deep end to then needing you to be resurrected. So that's my point. Thank you very much.
Alright, thanks Xingchen for sharing your point and telling us why your team used this technology to bring them back. 谢谢正方二辩星辰带来观点陈述，再给大家说一下辩题。辩题是如果有项科技可以复活全世界你最爱的人，要不要用它？谢草星辰 Lofi their proposition 正方，他们要使用 Shirley 翔 Eric their opposition 反方，他们不使用。然后给大家说一下 ，and this is an English chat stream and Twitch English debate every single night around 10:30 p.m. 所以每天晚上10点半我都会做英语辩论的直播，大家喜欢的话可以关注我一下。How to join the debate？ 怎么样参加辩论 ？As long as you follow me and join the fans group, so you can get my debate topic started before I get started streaming. Then you can join the debate. 只要你进了我的粉丝群，现在可以申请27群，然后在我直播的时候申请上麦就可以了。因为粉丝群我提前给大家说我的辩题，大家可以准备一下再来参加。Basically, that's how it works. 这是我们运行的。Alright, anyway, let's welcome 超级小杨 to continue case for the opposition. 请反方二辩，超级小杨，告诉我们为什么他们不用这项科技去复活别人。Hello, 小杨。
Hi there.
2 minutes for you.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me. This house believes that one, the society should not embrace nor allow the resurrection of a past individual, because for one simple reason, this house believes that mutual consent, especially informed consent, is absolutely vital. It is the building foundation of a healthy and working society. Why is that? Because the importance of mutual consent between parties is regarded as predominant in our society today in economic and non-economic activities, including business transactions, for example, or marriage contracts. And most important, this house believes that mutual consent is important for those who seek medical treatment. And this house defines resurrection in the motion today as a vital medical treatment, since it is trying to bring health. The ultimate purpose is trying to bring health of a sick or died individual. Therefore, for example, a doctor is under a duty to obtain consent from his or her patient, beginning from the stage of informing the material risk to the patient until the completion of the medical treatment. These informed consent is absolutely vital in any sort of medical practices or medical treatment. And insurrection simply ignored the free will of the individual by surpassing the informed consent part and jumping straight ahead to the completion of surgery. We believe this is absolutely immoral and against the code of medical practices. We believe the requirement for mutual consent is indispensable in any transaction, and especially in this case, in a medical practice. In a medical practices, and since since there is a lack of mutual consent, especially informed consent, we believe that this technology should not be public, should not be going public, and should not be allowed in the society. Thank you so much.
Alright, thanks, Sharon, for sharing point. For signals of opposition， 谢反方而变小人的观点陈述。再给大家说一下辩题啊，辩题是，if there's a technology that can resurrect the person you love most in this world, would you use it？ 如果像科技可以复活全世界你最爱的人，要不要用它 ？And also， 大家听的时候点点赞，我们今天争取到一个10万赞，然后每天晚上10点半都是英文辩论的直播，所以新进来的观众朋友们喜欢的话可以关注一下，只要关注我都可以来参加辩论啊。每天有2个话题。现在我们正在进行第2个话题。Alright, let's welcome Luffy to continue case for the proposition. 女正方3六 Luffy 为正方带来今天第1轮最后的观点陈述，2分钟，给到你。
Okay, so personally, I don't want to talk about private cases or individual cases, but this is a private question, and it does kind of involve a personal information. And I think I personally have dealt with my grandpa's loss, and he left me a month ago. Exactly a month ago, and it took me weeks to get over him, and that I was miserable, I was depressed, very, very sad. And before he left, I knew he didn't want to go away. I know he didn't want to leave, because at the very critical moment he did ask the doctor, is there really nothing you can do?
Sorry? 我听不到是，我刚刚听不到你声音了。
听得到吗？
现在听得到，就是你
从哪？
从 doctor。Your
Okay,
grandpa
so
asked the doctor.
yeah, my grandpa did ask the doctor, is there anything you can do for me? Is there really nothing that you can do to help me anymore? And I know, I can see the desperation in him, and I know how sad and how miserable he is about his own death. So of course I'd use it to bring him back to life. I know he wanted to live. And I think to the loved ones, you would know whether they want to die or not, or they want to accept the death peacefully or not before they're passing away. Because they're loved ones, I'd assume you'd be by their sides when they are dying. And I think we don't have to talk about mutual consent here, because if your loved ones passed away because of the unnatural death or the unnatural reasons, of course they don't want to live, right? Because they didn't decide to do that. That happened due to accidents and so on. But if they were sick and murdered, same reason, you'd be by their side. You'd know whether they wanted to live or not, because everyone would face their death differently. And to me, my grandpa didn't want to pass away, so I'd choose to bring him back because I love him and he wanted to live. I want to spend more time with him because I was away abroad. I spent loads of time outside, didn't get to cherish the time with him at his very last moment. So I'd use it. And I think everyone who knows what the loved ones want would do the same for them, because they would actually tell you or show you a
feel like you share precious memories and moments with can be completely lamentable. We agree with that and we resonate with us, but we just simply don't think that's relevant to our emotion. We're sorry for the proposition's loss, but we just don't think that's actually relevant to this debate. Several rebuttals before moving on to my argument. First one, basically, Xinchen and the first speaker were talking about redefining the death and how this is going to be making the death as a personal choices. I do agree with those ideas. I do believe that actually there are a lot of medical surgeries and approaches that can be utilized to revitalize people's life. But there is a book written by Michael Sandels, a Harvard professor. In the book that he was talking about what things cannot be transacted and bought in the market. One of them is a precious life. The reason for that is that there are certain boundaries human beings simply cannot break through. The analogy drawn by the proposition side is trying to say that medical or those kind of pharmaceutical approaches is no different from resurrections. It's completely fallacious analogy. And then I'm going to move on to my argument why this kind of topic is something that we should completely oppose, not only in the status quo, but also in the foreseeable future. We know that what love is lost is completely sad. But suppose if one day Hitler is trying to tell people, or Hitler's close followers is going to tell people, I'm going to resurrect Hitler. Are you still going to do that? Because those people still have true feelings for that. So one of the mechanisms and the flaw in this policy is that we really don't have a golden rule about which kind of people we can resurrect in the status quo. It's not about personal choices. It's not about how you have feelings for those kind of people. It's actually about what kind of policy can be utilized in the status quo that is completely congruous with people's understanding. If everybody has completely say and authority over others' life, what this society will turn into. It will turn into a society that is completely dictated by meritocracy because everybody is supposed to choose what kind of people we're going to resurrect. If we're going to resurrect Thanos, if we're going to resurrect evil people, is this society still going to be a civilized one? That's the most important and detrimental society we're going to embrace and face. That's something that we're fearful because once you become the god over somebody else's life, that's going to be super dangerous. So the reason why we're opposing this motion is not because we don't have passions and emotions for those people. Is we believe that nobody can be the god of somebody else's life. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric, for sharing point. 谢谢反方三辩 Eric 带来的观点陈述。Let me repeat the topic once again. 再给大家重一下话题啊，话题是 If there's a technology that can resurrect the person you love, why in this world would you use it? 如果像科技可以复活全世界你最爱的人，要不要用它？然后 from the first point to the third mic, their proposition 正方 from the fourth point to the sixth mic, 4、6号 match 反方 And I already finished the first part. We're going to move to the second round, which is one-on-one debate crossfire. 我们现在做完了第一轮的观点陈述，现在我们到了第二轮的1v1即席时间。想问一下正方3位辩手，哪位想 represent the team and do one-on-one debate first？ 谁想先来做这个 one-on-one debate？ 而且给大家说一下，做1v1的时候，大家们就要来投票了，由你们来决定谁赢谁输。And also, if you like just an English debate, you can stay in this room and improve your English and also follow me and join my fans group so you can get my debate topics earlier before I get started streaming. 大家喜欢英语的话，可以关注我一下，每天晚上10点。
Okay. Well, super. Disability, but not will make them poor thức này, xong rồi thì prayer, đến ngày nay thì today's they are vấn đề về là nó còn sao nó của mình mà